he took a little break. He was feeling tired, and now he's back on his game.
One thing that really struck out for me is, we coming into the competition, we expected Seraphine Graves. We saw 2 of them in the top 3 last time, and a 3-star Yone we saw dominating yesterday ended up in 4th place.
Yeah, the fact that we saw Lagoon Board do so well is happy for me. Of course, I will not shut up about Nyla until at least 3 more games, and then I'll be tired of her. It's usually how ADHD works, but... Solo Gasang going to be coming out of here right off the back of a built different game. Now, this is a man who truly embodies chaos. I'm sorry, David. I know you're afraid of seeing it on the desk as you ignore me as your audio is taken off. It's okay. I'm embodying chaos for him.
He's such a scallywag, that David. Always trying to get out of trouble, but we're always trying to put him back in.
I always love casting with you, Peter, because you're always pulling out words like scallywag. It's always
I'm British. That's just how we talk.
It's very English.
All right, so guys, for anyone who is tuning in as of game number 2, we are in day number 2, where we will be eliminating the vast majority of our players as they play across both days with no eliminations. The thing is, it's a bit like, it's a bit like other stuff. If you don't do any eliminations now, later on you have to do a whole lot more.
Yeah, you got to do a little bit of spring cleaning right afterwards. Just say, I'm sorry, not quite making the cut. Solo Gasang has the chance to pick up a Talia 2 here, and will do exactly that. 4th Talia if he's feeling spicy, but I don't suspect he will. Lots of AD components, but a decent Lagoon opener besides.
Well, we have seen, and we saw in the previous game, Lagoon can be the path into Dragons later on at a big late game board.
Yeah, and of course, we do have coming in here Warlords once again for Mirage, and Namzi. She's a mage again. She might come back, just might.
I'd like to see it, honestly. The random targeting is still something that makes the fights a little bit spicy, but it is very strong. We have seen some players going towards Vertical Mage, and it's only possible in this environment. Let's take a look at our first augments, though.
Better Together and Portable Forge, 2 really good options here to open for Super Eagle. Better Together if he kind of wants to lock himself towards that Seraphine Graves composition. Obviously, there's other options, but that's the best way to go. Woo.
Decides not to go for it, though. Of course, everyone's favorite augment. Will be able to give us a Zhonya's Paradox of Death Defiance or Infinity Force. We'll see which one Super is feeling like taking. I am surprised, like you, that the Best Together wasn't the choice, but maybe fearing being contested, and it will be Zhonya's.
Huh. Interesting. I'm wondering where he's going to go with this in the later stages of the game. We saw Zhonya's Paradox yesterday on an Aurelian Soul and on a Yone, just to allow both of those characters to ramp up as they are wont to do. It looks like that's going to be the case here once again, setting himself up for a later game AP board.
And we check in with Sana, who has, of course, well, everyone's got a Yone these days, but importantly for Sina, they've got Trade Sector, which means they should be able to get access to those higher levels Yones dramatically faster.
And Yone is one of those compositions. There's that formation that also runs the Olaf as a secondary, not the Olaf. With that Zeke's, you've got the Yasuo as well in the later stages of the game. Trade Sector has value no matter how late you go with that composition. So I'm looking forward to seeing Sinar have a similarly strong game 2.
Yeah, of course, we saw Simon before rocking out those dragons and doing very well for themselves. For the time being, let's take a quick look across. As we can see, the ornaments will be very popular indeed, with 3 of our players looking to go deep into the forges. But we do see as well, yes, a tricky little augment by the name of Featherweights creeping in.
I'm worried about this one. We've got 2 players now contesting the Yone reroll composition. Now, Peter, before show, you did point out to me there was 1 game yesterday where 2 players went Yone reroll, went first and second. One of them went Yone 3, the other one went Olaf 3. So it's not doomed just yet, but it does make me a little bit concerned.
Oh yeah, I mean, you put together some scope weapons there and you're laughing. Right now, I like this Revan. They've got a good setup with the Astrals. They can use the Featherweights well, and you're pushing gold into economy while keeping your board relatively strong. However, Skarambez is having none of that. They've got a much stronger board, and they're going to punish any attempt at econing.
We've seen how strong Astrals can cap out, but in the early stages of the game, it's just loss streak city. Revan did that last game as well, so it is a style that he is comfortable with, but it's something to watch as we go later on in the game. You want to worry about that HP total as we get into stage 3, but for the time being, he's chilling.
Reven's going to be a little bit tempted here to actually seriously go down the Astro route because they're finding a lot of them. So while our friend Varus there won't benefit from the featherweights, everybody else is. And at least for the time being, it allows for Revan to sit here and contemplate if they are going to be going for anything like the Yone reroll, which of course would be strong but would be contested.
I'm not sure how I feel about the full Astral reroll, especially now that he's putting in the Swift Shot for Varus. Gives a lot of attack speed for the Nidalee. Wondering if he's going to win or lose here, because that'll decide his trajectory for the rest of the game. Sologasong going for that frontline Olaf tends to imply that he's sacrificing the early rounds in order to get more stacks on him. But with Solo's really strong start with Ascension, the 2-star Talia we saw earlier, and the Giant Slayer, he's going to be just fine.
All right, let's take a quick look around the board because I think we've got a couple of players who are maintaining their 100 streak. And I think one of them actually, no, they didn't take it out of each other. Super is still undefeated right now, still playing against Skarambes.
In overtime.
Yes, in overtime as we speak. It looks like Skarambes came off the worst. So for Super, that's a pretty big win. They're the only player undefeated.
Curious how that board went on the other end of things, but a spatula open on Carousel always makes me excited. Possibility there for Sinar with the trade sector, with the Yone. Connect the dots.
Those dots spell a lot of trouble if they can put together. Well, yeah, the bow is, of course, the thing that will unlock the big Swift Shot version. We have seen, of course, yesterday, you don't have to go down that route, but certainly it's the one that players feel most traditionally comfortable with.
Very strong as well, even with the RFC. You can never have too much range. You can never have too much attack speed on Yone. Allows you to higher cap your board out late because multiple Swift Shots means a ton of damage.
As we check in with Super, so note again, this is the only undefeated player. We didn't really give their board a lot of credit before, but from what we're seeing, we've got fully stacked Warlords, we've got a Yone who will just never die because he's healing and he's got invincibility frames, and we've got a whole chunk of beef on that front line.
Yeah, it's going to be looking really strong coming into the early stages. We've already seen the problems with a Yone 1 carry, even with the fully stacked Warlords. I know, Yone, you're doing your best, and that's okay. Raiko, however, only has a 2-star Talia, so this may go well for Super Eagle.
Raiko actually towards the top of the table has been very calmly stacking things up. Has got themselves a dual Lotus. So again, we're getting the essence of Dragon composition early on. We're certainly looking to see if they can put together a damning board later on, but for now, it does not seem like Super is in actually too much threat at all.
No, but I really like what Raiko is doing, setting up for these late game boards. He has a great start for it. Dual Lotus, as you pointed out, plus the Spear of Shojin gives you a lot of mana generation for a late game Aoshin, gives you a lot of damage to cap off with if you add an Infinity Edge into there, and then you've got a free item slot. You get a 4-item slot, 2-star AP carry Dragon, and your game's pretty much won.
All right, so again, let's take the flavor of the lobby as Super will be looking to hold on to their win streak, ending out stage number 2. We've got a whole bunch of players up in the top 90s. Of course, none of them undefeated. Revan is down towards the bottom, but we've got the top 5 relatively close together. Bottom 3 taking a little bit more damage than perhaps they would like.
Super Eagle now, this is potentially the last round that he maintains his streak. If he's able to do it, he'll pull ahead in the economy game past the rest of the players. Peter, I'm seeing another potential Yone here. So that is 3 players that are going this Yone potential with the Swift Shot on the Kiana, which, fun fact, means she's not ulting.
Well, she's ulting it in a very awkward way. But you're right. We've got players who are all going down the same path here. They all want Yones, they all want Swift Shots. The problem is you're trying to build the two together at the same time, and that hasn't quite happened for anybody as yet, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and I think Sinar is going to come out of this one ahead, right? We saw that game where Potable went for that reroll after staying on 2-star for so long, but if you have an augment like Trade Sector that allows you to accelerate your roll down just by taking it slow in the early stages, and then maybe all-inning if you feel like you need to, he's almost guaranteed to hit that 3-star first.
Taking a quick look at our players' comps over on the right-hand side, of course, as we note, Super holding on to that win streak all the way into Krugs. You can see we've got a little bit of Mirage occupying the bottom half of the table for the time being. Sana, Raiko, and Swella Tiger all got the new news as part of the competitions. Sana with a couple of Olafs actually live at the moment. Very interesting approach to the game from one of our Turkish players.
I have a deep desire to see Brix's board after this because I saw it and it looks very rage-winging, very, well, to turn a phrase, Senna-y.
Oh boy. I mean, Senna is, of course, with the continuous kind of little trickle of buffs over time, certainly a great item holder.
He's rolling.
Let's see. So Super's on the 5-win streak at the moment. Revan is on the 5-loss streak. So we've almost got the table divided as is by win streaks and loss streaks, top and bottom.
Yeah, which is really good here for Revan. We mentioned early on he wants to go loss streak for this early Astral reroll composition.
Ooh.
Finds that Vladimir 3, and he's got an Infinity Edge and a Jeweled Gauntlet on the bench. He's ready for something.
Well, he's ready for Lux.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if he had her yet. I didn't see her there hiding away in the corner at 1 star. Tiny little hitbox, but big damage.
What we're seeing from the bench is that Revan is pretty serious about going into these Astrals. They don't have the trade sex, which of course would be amazing for this composition. And right now, this Lux is doing a decent amount of damage. I think it might not be quite enough, but that's still a good loss for Revan. They're on a huge streak, and they only take the minimal damage.
Yeah, and now this is going to be a Nidalee 3 picked up in the early rounds as we get into our second set of augments. Blue Battery would feel pretty good. However, it locks you out of going for a blue buff, so your mana generation item would have to be the Spear of Shojin. That would get that Lux casting pretty quickly.
Yeah, it looks like it will be the choice. So Revan, I think in a decent spot. Their economy is pretty solid. Again, they don't have the Lux 2-star, which will make a huge difference here, but as you said, the blue buff will be pretty good. Of course, silver augments across the board. Let's see if there's any spicy ones. Skarambez the one who catches my eye immediately, though.
Yeah, Pandora's is one of those augments that can be a blessing and a curse, depending on how well you're able to use it. So as the stages get later, Skarambez's value will hopefully increase as we see him on the side, potentially going for a Darkflight board.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Of course, something when I first came across the Pandora's bench, didn't realize you could take 2-star units and reroll them as well.
Yeah.
So you can really get out very quick if, and only if, your luck is in your way. Super is still undefeated, but Brix is hot on their tail. Let's see how Revan, fighting up for the bottom of the table, still, I think, happy to take an L here as they continue to build their board, and Super Eagle is more than happy to let them.
Yeah, I mean, both of them will be happy with this situation if Revan takes the loss. Revan's still on a 6-loss streak, getting maximum econ, 62 HP, frankly not bad for a full loss streak. And Super Eagle, with that 100 streak, continues to be the richest man in the game.
Not, well, I suspect they probably still are, but they're not going to be the winningest, streakiest player in the game anymore. That was a very solid win there, and I think that really sends out the klaxon call that the Astrals have arrived on the field. That's with a 1-star Lux. Imagine what a 3-star Lux could do.
I am, however, not surprised to see him keep rolling at this point on Revan's board because that Lux is still not a 2-star. That means the damage is going to be severely limited compared to the high potential ceiling of this composition. So he's just going to keep going for that. Finds his Silas 2 instead, but he's going to be happy with finally getting a strong mage frontline.
Yes, still going to be a little bit disappointed, as you said, to not have the Lux, but up against Skarambez, who is the win-streaking player right now. We noted they got the Pandora's bench, and they've used it to great effect to get those Cannoneers online, provide a good amount of backline punch.
I suspected Darkflight. I'm happy to see that I was wrong, because this is even more exciting. You've got that Itis with the massive tankiness in the front line, meaning she takes almost no damage. Same isn't true of the Senna in the back, however, and I think this may be Skarambez's win streak fading.
Yeah, well, we saw it last lobby. Win streaks come, win streaks go. I mean, this is the kind of composition that Lux players dream of. You've got all the backliners, all of the damage in one place where your Lux can just wipe them out almost immediately.
And this is one of the things we were talking about with the Yone composition as well, and those boards like the reroll composition I mentioned earlier on in the day, where you have one singular backline carry. It's fantastic if nobody targets your backline immediately, and normally you're going to wait until that Asol, you're going to wait until that Ao Shin to get that threat happening. But sometimes those compositions, like the Rengar, and like, notably, Revan's Lux, is going to cause a lot of problems for these Yones in the early game.
And she's practically an assassin by herself
in
terms of the backline access. As we check in with Sana, and we do have the completion, the number of the beasts has arrived. we've got Yone, we've got Swift Shot, and we've got a Rapid Fire Cannon for effectively putting out a scoped weapons too.
Now, this is really interesting to me. The fact that Sinar slammed the Thieves' Gloves onto the Olaf signals to me that he's not going to be looking for that Olaf 3 as a secondary carry. Despite having Trade Sector, despite having Warrior Heart, he's putting all of his eggs into the Yone basket. And it makes sense. You've got a Swift Shot Heart, or you've got a Swift Shot Crest, rather, on that Yone. Just go into those Swift Shots. Give him more attack speed, give him those bonuses that way, and keep the Olaf there in the front line. Give him items, sure, but he's never going to be your focus from this angle.
Well, we check in with Super, newly freed from their win streak, let's put it that way. Going to struggle a little bit. Of course, that Olaf, with all that tankiness from the Thieves' Gloves items, holding on pretty darn well, but I don't think we're going to be seeing Sana holding on to their own win streak. Of course, that is the big problem. If once your front line is gone, having all the range in the world won't save you.
And it brings us back to the two schools of Yone play. We just mentioned this all throughout day number 1. Here in EMEA, at the very least, we like to go full damage items or utility. In the case of the rapid fire cannon, yeah, it gives attack speed, but really what it's doing is keeping the Yone safe in the back. North America, they tend to go for the Hand of Justice slam instead, which will keep your Yone up. Probably would have saved him in that situation, but Sinar's looking towards the late game with this composition. You're looking to cap out as hard as possible, and it's going to take some losses until it gets there.
All right, let's check in with Brix, our top player coming into this particular setup. We will be reseeding, of course, after this lobby is done, with an incredibly strong center on the backline. They don't have a win streak to speak of, but they have got an awful lot of punch up against Solo with a fully itemized Danger. It doesn't look like there's been enough damage done, though, to access that backline, unlike our friend Lux from before.
Yeah. Deja, however, that ultimate is not going to be enough to take down the Senna, and Senna with the Collector will take Brix into the Wolves with a very, 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 very tiny win streak.
I guess, you know, whatever you can get, really. Let's take, again, the temperature of the lobby. We've got a whole bunch of players. In fact, our bottom 4 all on almost exactly the same HP.
There's a Graves.
And then, there we go. We can start moving into the late game officially now as well.
Simple pickup there for Brix. He's going to swap in that Graves in the meantime over the Zeri. But once he gets the Graves too, that's going to become the main carry over this Senna. And he's got the cleanest, easiest pivot into this late game possible. Because look at the thrill of the hunt. This is something we've talked about. Augments like Thrill of the Hunt, Jeweled Lotus effectively give you an extra item for your carry. And he just picks up a second Graves off the PvE round. Well, sometimes, guys, you just gotta hit.
Oh boy, well, in this case, we've got the... I'm kind of interested to see what we're going to be going for here, because we have got options. We can see the Xayah is there, and I think maybe Brix had that in mind initially. Maybe this change and a little bit of a roll down to fish for a Graves too. There we go. The confirmation. Xayah will have to do without. It's all about Graves.
Just seeing what you hit when you have this amount of gold, when you know you're going for your 4-1 roll down, just wait it out.
All right, Brix, let's see what your shiny new Graves has got for us. We've got the setup here from Skaram as a very solid front line, but Graves should be able to build up. That gold collector won't do a ton until the units are low, and when there's an uber tank like this in the mix, that's not going to happen very quickly.
Look, he's trying, all right? He's going to try and dig through this front line, but without Whispers there to shred the armor and MR, this is going to be a struggle for the Graves. Collector means that once Idis gets low enough, it's just going to be a one-shot like that, which is very useful into this composition, as Graves does successfully clean up Skarambez's board.
And that's that last round. The bottom starts to take a bit more of a hit.
Oh.
But we've got our last augment coming in. So it's gold, silver, and gold. And it will be Jeweled Lotus coming in for Brix.
Yeah, Jeweled Lotus really good with this composition to buff up the Seraphine as well. Her buffs are going to be the main provider of damage for the Grave outside of his items. And slotting back in the Xayah. Interesting.
I'm fascinated to see where this one goes. I mean, Brix, you know, they're making a lot of very little. I mean, we've got a lot of 1-stars in the mix there. Just kind of a grab bag of random units, but it's working pretty darn well. I mean, they've got a win streak. They're towards the top of the table. We will be heading across, I believe, to Raiko in a second, who's on the opposite situation. Yes, along with Revan down in the 40s. But a decent board put together with scoped weapons to help enhance their backline just a little bit more.
Was fairly comfortable loss streaking in the early game, but it seems like hasn't been able to make that pivot. We saw very early on the Jeweled Lotus committal signaling maybe a late game Dragon board, and has settled on this Deja. Strong enough as a carry in her own right. We've seen her win a lobby as primary carry, but on Raiko's board doesn't seem to be doing just enough into Sinar's Yone until the very last second.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about that one as well, but holding on pretty darn well. Those Mirage Stacks, of course, giving you a little bit more HP to play with. I'm sure once Raiko can find a third damage item, they can really start turning things around, but I guess loss streaking is kind of off the table. They've got a tome to cash in as well to try and make their board a little bit stronger. We'll see what they've got.
And I'm looking back at this board, looking back at these augments again, and I'm thinking about it. Raiko's essentially got additional items, 3 of them, for his Deja. You've got the scoped weapons instead of RFC, Jeweled Lotus for damage, and Celestial Blessing for healing.
I think we do need to go check out the big headline news here, which the Thieves' Glove Olaf has in fact hit 3 stars, exactly as you said, Matt. You've got the trade sector, you've got access to these high quality units. The thumbs up, soldier. It's time for the 3 stars to start slapping heads.
Yeah, Deathblade's a really good roll too, so Sinar's board gonna be sitting real pretty. Funny thing for me is that he hit the Olaf 3 from level 6 before hitting the Yone 3. So sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes you get high rolls and not the high rolls you want. As we see Sweller's Swift Shot Zippy doing pretty well, frankly.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, honestly. I mean, so this is something we have seen from this lobby. We saw Yone being an absolute terror. We have got backline access. Zippy, Lux, I suppose to extent Deja as well. They've all got ways to access the backline and actually hurt the Yone before it goes off huge.
Now, potentially last carousel for some of these players. Revan and Raiko both on 30 HP. You'd expect them to be able to take it to stage 5 at the very least, but this lobby has been putting out a lot of pressure on those bottom players. We noted early on they were going for consistent loss streaks intentionally, but they've been having a hell of a time recovering into a strong board.
And our wonderful observer, Danny, noting that Sinar's Olaf has got 8 charges through already. So even if they're kind of working with random items, that will remain consistent. They will be a damage threat. But just, a little bit of revision before we go any further. Revan, of course, down at the very bottom, did come in 7th last time round, so this will be a disaster for the game. For Raiko, they had a much stronger finish at 4th, but they're both still in a position where they could get taken out without picking up nearly any points at all.
Revan just got a 2-star Lux, and it didn't make the 3-star. So he had, at most, 5 Luxes going into that round, which is not a good look for a reroll composition about to hit stage 5.
Let's see how Sinar does here. So they've got the defensively oriented Olaf this time around. We're looking for a 3rd item for Yone to really get the damage through. Note we have got Tiamat in here for the Warriors as well.
Yep.
So Yone is going to be able to deal relatively well with clumped front lines, though not perhaps as well with dragons. This time though, Olaf holds the front line in place long enough for Yone to eliminate everybody else and give Super the L.
Frankly, I feel like the Olaf did more even damage than the Yone. I was watching that and he's just single axe swings taking out multiple people.
Well, I mean, he's going to be doing that. In this case, the tanky items actually keep him from dying. Let's check in with Revan, though. Again, Revan towards the bottom of the table is in a little bit of trouble, but they've got stacking up Archangels, which should make this a formality. Skarambes takes the hit, pushing them down to 40. We've got a bottom 4 who are all feeling a little bit flighty with Bricks riding high at the top of the table.
Oh, this is going to include a unit. You can tell because he wasn't able to pick it up. He's going to be 1 Lux away. Wouldn't be surprised to see a full roll down from this position, but his bench is real busy.
I mean, he could go. There we go. We've got Luxes, we've got Varuses. This is going to be huge. The drop quality is going to increase massively for Revan if they can just get the stars in. You could throw the Silas in the bin, but you're so close to hitting 3 stars of everybody.
This is so tragic. Just 1 off. Literally the 3 most important units in this composition: Silas 3, Varus 3 for the CC, and Lux 3, of course, as the damage carry.
We'll have to see if they can hold on and get a few more better drops. In this case, We can see the front line deteriorates under the rain of hellfire coming out of our friend Yone. That's the L for Revan. They could even end this game just one step away from everything they'd hoped and dreamed for.
An important note for everyone who's following along at home, Sinar did finally hit that Yone 3. No third item just yet, but we'll see as we hit into the Dragon here at the end of Stage 4.
All right, guys, so of course, while the Dragon is going on, it will be a Chaos Treasure Dragon, so of course, we'll get a lot of messing around. Look for the link in the chat to the AMD giveaway. Again, you don't need to use the command to enter. You just need to use the link to follow to the site where all will be revealed.
Please, for our admins and mod sanity, do not spam the link.
I feel that's the best way to get them to spam the link.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'm just glad we're on the same page here.
Look, you gotta have fun. We've got a chat. We might as well use it.
All right, so we've got the Chaos Treasure Dragon being cashed in. Still, Revan is denied the happiness, the hopes and dreams are left with nothing. At least they've got a few more items to get our friend Varus online. No, in fact, it's going to be the Nidalee instead. Being set up for some pretty heavy damage because the Thieves' Gloves goes onto Varus instead. We have got a unit in there, but we don't know which unit it is. It's a mystery box.
Ooh, and much like them, according to the Belgian government, they kind of hate them too. And I here as Revan would be feeling pretty...
Yes! You had a choice! You had a choice. You could have sold a Silence and guaranteed one of your 3 stars, but no. You're like, nah, it's fine. Oh, you know, out with the old Varus and in with the new. Let's see how they do up against Sang. Who's going to say, hey, there's not as many 3 stars here as I thought. How about my Zippy deliver some swift justice directly to your noggin?
Oh, this is just brutal. Solo Gasang wiping the floor with Revan's board, and this may spell the end for our Astral Mage player. Survives on a single point of health.
And a little note as well for Scrammers picking up the 2-star Shio Yu. Of course, Jade Cypher not picking up any top 1s in the previous day, but suddenly pretty consistent. We've got the top of the lobby also taking a hit. Brix takes the L. Sinar is now on the way up to the #1 spot.
Brix and Sinar are the 2 players we highlighted in Game 1, pulling it back once again for Game number 2, holding those top. Brix with the 3-star Graves!
Almost. Wait, what? Hello? I was too busy thinking about Astrals. This is not even a trade sector set up here. They just managed to natural them.
He was just going for it. He was like, you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling like I'm going to get a Graves 3. Anyone with me? And I was not. However, Mort Dog seems to be. He picks that one up and almost for sure is going to finish this lobby first, running into the 2nd strongest board in the game, which is going to be Sinar's Yone board.
Well, let's see. That's a lot of damage behind that there. Graves, look at it, just tear in. He's just ripping through everything. And if there's a solution for the problem that's called Yone, it is a man with a big gun.
Yeah, Infinity Edge, Rageblade Collector. A single hit from this Graves is bound to just kill you in one shot.
Speaking of getting killed in one shot, Raiko and Revan are both going. Skarambes down to 1. Our top 5 are sitting pretty, while Skarambes is scrambling to hold on.
This is going to be really rough for Raiko as well, who was coming into this with a high placement, sitting in top 12. And instead, now going to fall down in 7th. Means he's going to have to start getting a little bit more desperate with those compositions, quite a bit more feast or famine.
At least for Skarambes, I suppose they can't go 8th again, but it's still, you know.
True.
We talked about, you know, the 2 different classes of players coming in today. You had the ones you can, you know, play normal TFT, and you've got the ones you have to go all out. For Skarambes, they're going to need to make one hell of a journey back through this lobby to even stand a ghost of a chance.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that's going to happen as he runs directly into the Graves board here of Brix. Watch as this Graves just decimates even the front line. Look how low the Idis gets from 2 hits. Graves firing away uncontested, and it looks like Skarambes is on a short trip back to the play again screen.
Oh boy, well I suppose at least it's an improvement, but yes, the death sentence of Brix, the Brix wall, will be locking down almost certainly another first place here. Brix, you know, incredible start to day 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Day 1 start was just as incredible as well. Remember, 3 first places in a row on day 1. We were thinking after he got the first last game, no, surely not, Peter. There's no way he does it again. But here in game number 2, a Graves 3 at 5-2, that's on pace for a first if I've ever seen it.
And even with the Dragon Carousel, I mean, nothing is going to be able to catch up to the raw power. I'd say the only chance here for other players is Graves doesn't have, has a little bit of healing, doesn't have any CC immunity, so there are ways to at least remove Graves from the equation for a little bit. Ideally, Radiant Zephyr him out of the fight for 10 seconds or so, and you stand a chance. It's not an insurmountable obstacle by the strictest definition, it's just a ridiculously hard to get over.
And I'm really liking Brix's adaptation because, like you said, Graves has no healing built into that itemization. He's relying on Thrill of the Hunt 1, which is going to fall off the later you get. However, look at that bench. Holding on to a Soraka, going to go 9, put in the Soraka to heal up that Graves, keep him alive, kicking and shooting down the enemy front line.
Oh boy, yeah, nothing here seems to be right now in the vague realm of able to deal with. At least Sweller is able to survive another round thanks to Lucky Stars they made out of their encounter with Brix with their life at all.
If anyone in this lobby was planning on going for a late game Dragons board, Brix has just shut down that plan. We've been talking about the tempo of this lobby, how it was very top and bottom heavy in the early stages of the game. Now that Brix has gotten this board that just absolutely decimates anything that isn't at that same tier of damage, everyone else suddenly has to scramble. They have to roll down. They have to look for stronger boards, or they're just going out before they can hit that top 4.
And Sweller doesn't have any options here. They're completely out of cash. He's going to be facing up against Super. Of course, they did put together their grab bag of a competition for a while. They've now managed to find themselves a Shyvana to be able to make some amount of difference. Will take to the skies and get themselves out of trouble for a little bit. Has got a decent amount of damage, but the guild comp is pretty solid. Guild lay, of course, means there's a lot on the board. Nyla, who is a guildie herself for this particular game, will be able to do great amounts of damage. And Shyvana is left standing, last one, but nothing too much left to say, at least I think so. The stun comes in, and the job gets done.
Super Eagle low on health. One more loss will take him out as we head towards stage 6. Look at this board. Brix picks up a bar too. Dear God, he's terrifying. But we've got Sinar, Eagle, and Sweller both within striking distance of knocking out at a single fight on stage 6.
We see what Sinar's up to. So they're going to get themselves a Shojin. They've got, of course, the incredibly strong frontline of our friend Braum 3 with a couple of gargoyles to his name. We've got, of course, the 3 items on the Yone. Of course, this time we don't have that dual Lotus to be able to push the damage up a little bit further than before, but still, I think decent itemization. We've got our friend Yasuo who needs a little bit of a push up, and that might be just a ticket.
Now, going to be looking for... I'd say keep the Zephyr at this point. I was considering, I thought he had a Reforger, so I'm considering nothing at this point, Peter. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been so distracted by Brix. How do you come in with a Graves 3 on stage 5? And Sinar, who had such a strong start at the beginning, we said, this guy's on pace for first. Trade Sector, Tiamat, with the Yone 3, with the Olaf 3. No way he loses yet. Running into Brix, running into these other boards, he might be struggling.
Well, Sweller has only one life to give, and it's going to be aggressively pursued by our friend Yone, pumping out the absolute world of damage. With Nyla dropping as well, it's taken a little bit too long for Nolty to get any significant work done. And while Yone might not be the winning ticket here, it's going to be enough to drive out the 5th member, guaranteeing top 4 for everybody else.
Now, 1 health left. If anyone runs into Brix at this point, they're out, unless their name is Solo Gassan. So, it's up to Solo if he thinks he can push first to find a way past that Graves. But frankly, if I'm Solo coming into this round with a high placement in previous games in the previous day, I'm happy to get a second.
Well, they'll be up against Sinar in the next round, which is amazing news for them. If they can take out Sinar convincingly, then top 3 is there for them. It was incredibly good luck. For Super, their luck is a little bit less on point. They are not only likely to, well, they're almost guaranteed to lose, but they're guaranteed to almost certainly lose the rest of their HP this round.
Yeah, going to be a huge loss as well if it happens. The Grave
God.
just blasts through the front line, dives into the back line, and finds himself stuck to the Shyvana. Half health on her, but for not much longer, as Graves keeps firing away into the back. Heal as much as you want, but Shyvana, I don't think you're going to last much longer. Super Eagle, however, does.
There's been a few players who've been visited by the Bricks and not actually being killed, so there's a lot of very fortunate ends to rounds. So with Bricks, we'll be going up against Cyanide next, which means that no top 3 guaranteed, as Bricks is actually even looking to try and reinforce this board just a little bit more. There's a 2-star
Nice.
Idas coming in case you needed any more tools to get the job done.
Well, frankly, he might. That last round was incredibly close, and I wouldn't have characterized Super Eagle's board as being that strong compared to a Graves 3.
Well, let's see, Super Eagle, they've got one more chance here. So the guilds, the Shyvana, I think will really just be mostly a distraction. I don't know if there's just the damage here to get rid of the Deja. If you can't do that, you can't win. Shyvana is going to toast her way through as many units as possible. We have got Snippy disrupting. Ascension kicks in. Maybe this could be the turning point.
There go the shields. Shyvana still alive. The Deja ticking low. Finally, Shyvana's on her with the Bard. And it looks like Super Eagle will survive one more round as he takes out Sulugasang and guarantees himself second place in round number 2.
Sulugasang going up from 3rd to 4th, still with a decent performance so far. Persona 2nd to 3rd, so we're seeing a lot of consistency from our top performing players. Of course, we're going to be getting a few extra items creeping in here. Bricks going to go for just the gloves, an interesting choice. Of course, to make that Infinity Edge, just to try and get a little bit more punch. Remember, of course, Jeweled Lotus is in play, which means that Jace will be adding to the pile of damage that Graves has got for Super.
Bricks making an interesting choice here, of course, with that Shimmer Scale item, saving up on that gold, allowing himself a little bit more econ. This loss is nowhere near going to take him out, but it sure as hell takes out Super Eagle if he loses.
All right, Super, show us what you've got. Up against the unstoppable force of the Graves. Going to be slamming into the side. The Shroud goes wide. Graves is as yet untended. Look at them tearing in to friend Jace. He's gone just as quick as a flash. The stun comes in. Graves ripping into Shyvana. We'll ignore her for a second as she goes into invincibility frames, but it doesn't matter. Built like a brick outhouse and with a stunning day 2 performance to go with a stunning day 1.
Bricks taking 5 first place finishes in the first 7 games of the Rising Legends Finals. You cannot ask for a better performance from this player, one that we've been watching